Okay, good evening. Welcome to Norfolk Conservation Commission meeting. It is February 12th at 7:04 p.m. Please be aware that this meeting is audio and video recorded. So first thing on the agenda, we're going to hold 3 Cedar Road for a couple of minutes. We're going to bring up 19 Spring Street and try to take care of that. So if the gentleman would please come up.
And this is just basically so people know it's an old expired order of conditions that no one ever got the final paperwork on, and now this gentleman was like dead.
Sandra Miller, who bought the property almost 20 years ago. They probably slipped through the cracks. I've owned the property for 20 years, and now, which I've refinanced it before, they never caught it.
Now they caught it.
These guys are real sticklers.
Okay.
Here we are.
All right, so what I will entertain is a motion for a certificate of release for 240271.
Move to issue a certificate of release for order conditions 240-271.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Is there any comments? Anybody in the audience? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Perfect. Thank you.
Enjoy
Happy
the rest of
birthday.
your evening.
Happy birthday.
It's half price now.
Okay, once that gets finished, we'll do 3 Cedar Road. Is the applicant here? Mr. Jim? Thank you for being patient while we took care of that quick.
Not a problem at all.
Alan needs to sign it.
If you just hang on so
Yeah.
he can notarize it and make a copy, and then
Okay.
the gentleman can go with his birthday
Okay,
dinner.
can we open up with Jim? No?
I think you can just pause for 3 minutes.
Okay.
We'll mess something up.
Okay, let's take we'll pause until she does the notarizing. So Lincoln Road and Meetinghouse Road are being continued, correct? Is anybody here for those? The applicant, Meetinghouse Road isn't? Just Lincoln Road?
Well, no, don't rush us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, time-wise.
I'm sorry. I can't jump on that. Okay, let's go to action items. 75 Cleveland Street, the right of first refusal. That's a property that's been up for sale for a number of years. Finally, somebody has bought it. It does have some wetlands in the back. It's a big area. The people that have put a P&S on it are planning to live in the house at no development. So every board needs to vote on it if they'd like it or not, or if the town should pursue it. The CPC has already voted on it, and they voted it down, that they don't see a value of it for the town. But really, they're the money people, so if we said, oh, we want it, then the town would start pursuing it. Want to have any discussion on that?
This property we voted on with the septic system already approved. Didn't we approve the septic to go in for this
Yes,
a while back?
yeah.
Sorry, so what's on the property now?
It's a old house, and it could be buildable, maybe, a couple of houses in the back.
Got 18
But there's a lot
acres.
of wetlands on the property, so they'd have a lot of issues. The house is, let's say, on the left side of the property, there's a driveway. To the right, there is space that they could sell off a lot, and they may do that in the future, but that's all they're planning to do. The couple wants to live on it and keep it up like it is, so. We'd use it for, like, conservation land. People can play in the wetlands.
Seems to me like if it's not gonna really be, doesn't seem like it's gonna really have a substantial change to what it is now.
Yeah,
I looked at it to buy it, it's a pretty nice property. It's got a lot of land out back, which abuts open space land the town already owns. But, I don't think they could get an access road in there to actually build out there. unless they
No,
bought
that
the
would
land
be the
next to it.
problem. They'd have to go through wetland issues.
Right, exactly.
The town does own property in the back to the right, and so this would give more access to their property, but it's kind of no value. It's almost a landlocked area anyway, so it's just, that the town already owns. So, we need to take a vote on that, to either pursue it or decline to pursue it.
I think decline.
Go ahead, make a motion.
I move to decline, initiating our right of first refusal for 75 Cleveland Street.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes, so please let the powers to be know that we voted no on it. Okay, you all set, Amy?
Yes.
Okay, Jim.
Good evening, Jim Susi with United Consultants. Excuse me. The project for you this evening is a septic repair for an existing house at Free Cedar Road. Currently, the line comes out of the side of the house and heads down to two cesspools in this area here. Both of them will be pump crushed, filled with sand, and abandoned. We'll put a clean out at this piece here, run it into a septic tank, pump chamber, and then that would lift it up to the leaching area in that area. The whole system will be bordered by a block retaining wall with the 40 mil poly barrier behind it to keep anything from breakout. You can see that.
It's a temporary block wall or a
No,
permanent?
that's going to be permanent.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, you know, that being the wetlands, here's the 25-foot buffer zone, and here's the 50. It's only an 8,000 square foot lot. In talking about this with Janet in the past, we have highlighted the 184 contour, which I believe is the FEMA flood elevation for that area. So, all of the work, the permanent work, will be happening outside of the flood zone. We will have, you know, temporary erosion control measures partly in it for the construction of everything, but we are not proposing any work or filling or anything like that in the flood zone.
Are materials being taken out of the area?
What you'll do is, there'll be an area here, the overdig for the septic system, that will be removed, and gravel brought in.
What kind of barrier are you gonna put up for temporary, for
The,
erosion?
on the back side of the wall,
No, I mean during construction?
right now I think we're just proposing a compost sock.
Is that enough? Is that sufficient,
I
Janet?
was just a little concerned, Jim, with, there's not a lot of, and I hate that little thing, I can't see it, but how much room there was from where you're digging?
Can you blow that up a little bit?
I think I've given myself 5 feet
Is that enough
from
with
the
them,
retaining wall to the.
is that enough room for them working in their?
Yeah, like I
dirt?
say, they're blocked so that it's all gonna be built by hand.
I was just, you know, for what dirt's being moved versus this little
That's-
thing.
That's this area, basically from the wall this way is where the excavation is gonna be
Here's my
coming out.
Here.
erosion control, here's my erosion.
Right now, the wall is 5 feet off the system. So this is, I don't know if you can see it, the crosshatch and the dotted line right here. That's the overdig area.
Wait a minute.
This is the overdig area,
Okay.
I believe, right here. What's the highlight, the dark line that you got going on? Yes,
Right
that.
here.
That is your overdig area?
No,
That's-
that's the retaining wall.
Retaining wall.
With the barrier. See, just inside of that, there's the dash line and it has the hatch in
Okay,
it.
yep, okay,
That hatched area
okay.
is the overdig area.
And how many feet between that and the wall is that? 5 feet?
5 feet there, and I've got another 5 feet to the erosion control line.
Okay, so you get 5 feet from there to there and then 5 feet to here, so there's 10 feet.
So they're digging, when's the wall go up
once they remove all the top and sub and any material that can't be under the system, then they will start to build the wall as they're coming up with the gravel.
Okay, so we're gonna have erosion controls, you're gonna dig the stuff out of there,
Correct.
and carry on that conversation for me.
Again, whatever's within the overdig, the top sub and any other material that's unsatisfactory being under the system will be removed, and then septic gravel will be brought in from that grade to just over the system.
And then when does the wall come in?
The wall will be constructed as they bring the gravel in.
And what do you end up with top elevation on top of the septic system? The leaching area there?
A 186.5 here, and it slopes off to 186. The top of the wall is at a 185.25. So, basically, that's the 182. This wall is only going to be about 3 feet, 3'6" tops from the ground.
Just as far as tweaking, Jim?
Mhm.
Oh, 'cause when they do that big, white pine in front of the shed, are they gonna leave they're probably gonna have to do they have to pull the roots out on that?
That tree's up in this area here, I believe, so it's not anywhere.
I'm just thinking when they start digging, those roots are probably, usually where your branches are, that's where your roots are.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're gonna have, my only thought was, would they maybe, do you think there's a need to move that erosion control, say, up towards the shed to give them room to work on that tree or whatever?
To make the swing up
Yeah,
like that.
that's your call. I was just,
Well,
I wanna make sure they have room to work.
It's kind of your call. If it's okay with you, then I'll take this erosion to the back corner of the shed and then bring it down like that in the field. What we
Oh,
can
that-
do is
Cool.
typically we go out and stake the erosion control line. They put it in, then we come out, inspect it, and send you guys the letter that it's been installed as per the plan.
That might just give them a little bit more room, and if they gotta get into that tree.
Yep.
That way it's already there, so we don't have to worry, and also, so hopefully people aren't driving wherever else. Okay, good, that'd be cool.
And disposal area for the stuff as you're moving it out?
It'd be loaded in trucks and hauled right out.
Okay.
There's not enough room on this lot to
Yeah,
stockpile
we
anything.
just want to make sure it's not on the other side.
No,
Do we have a DP number for this? Did that come in?
yes, I saw it
Yes,
last week.
625. I didn't get an order of conditions ready because, as far as I knew, I had, that they were gonna be, probably changes with Board of Health to the plan, so I've been
Okay,
waiting.
Board of Health hasn't approved this yet?
We have a meeting with them Monday. We had
Okay.
had a previous meeting with them for some waivers, and then in their agent's review, there was a couple of notes and stuff that had to be changed on the construction details, and there's one additional waiver that we have to request. So we'll be
Okay.
before the Board of Health tomorrow, Tuesday night, for that additional waiver.
So if we continue this to March and then vote on it then, once you have,
Okay.
hoping Board of Health gives you the approval,
Yeah,
then we can approve it then and you're good to go.
okay.
Last thing, Jim, and I don't know if we talked about this, they have enough room over here to get back there to do the work that they,
Yeah, when we came in to do the perk holes, the machine accessed right down this way into the backyard, so,
that's probably their only way to get
Yeah.
there. Yeah, okay.
you know, because off the driveway, you've got this couple of retaining walls, and you're just not gonna get vehicles, and again, it's a little soft over there.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to continue NOI 240-625 until March 11th at, go ahead, let's put him at 7.
I move to continue NOI 240-625 to our March 11th meeting at 7.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Is there anybody in the audience regarding this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, we'll see you next month, Jim. Thank you. Okay, 15 Lincoln Road. The applicant isn't here, right? They're continuing that.
For
Lincoln Road?
15 Lincoln Road, that is correct.
Okay.
We have there's an email requesting continuance of that.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue 15 Lincoln Road, 240-0624, to the March 11th meeting at 7:10.
Move to continue 15 Lincoln Road, NOI 2400624 to the March 11th meeting at 7:10.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, which brings us to Meetinghouse Road.
Nope, nope, nope. Watch your time.
So, 7:30, I'm sorry.
So now,
We-
They are here.
They're here, okay, you're here, we can't start until 7:30.
Oh, I'm not sure.
In your packet is the Norfolk Register of Deeds Community Preservation information.
That was just an FYI. I think they send that every year.
Yeah. So it did go up a couple of percent. I-
And on the back, that saves the money.
Oh, yeah, okay, so,
Yeah, so it's, I mean, we have a nice account there if we ever want to spend big money for conservation.
Well, it's split.
It's part recreation conservation. Oh, no.
Historical,
Oh, yes. No, I mean, but our part is a third. So, okay, Eversource, do you want to talk about that, Janet?
no, it's just more of a courtesy that they let us know that they're doing,
The spraying?
yeah, what they do, and we have no say on that, but it's nice that they let us know.
Okay. Let's see.
Also, we have 2 Old Pond Street.
Yes.
The man asked for certificate of compliance. Old Pond Street, it's off of Valley Road, it's that little, and it's a cul-de-sac, it's got that church that's converted to a house that I so love. But across the street, it's so pretty, they
It
got
is
stained
nice.
glass. They had come before us with the filing, cause from, I think, maybe cesspool to septic, and that was up near the road, so. And that was the one, do you remember they had the big tree, and I asked them about putting that wood stuff around the tree to protect the trees, so they did that. They got all this stuff done, you've got grass coming in and everything, so they just want their final paperwork. So he'd come in and talk to us, and if he doesn't come in tomorrow with a check, he won't get his paperwork, but we're doing our part.
Is there a house there?
Yeah,
There
there's an
is? On the
existing
left?
house. Yeah, right when you hit the end of the cul-de-sac.
Oh, the red one?
I don't know what color.
Okay, right at the end of the cul-de-sac on the left?
On the left,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what the one is, all right.
Yeah, it's a 2-family.
Mhm.
And the guy that bought it, I think, he's like the village administrator and dead
What's that?
or something.
Mhm.
Nice man.
Yeah.
But I drove by and peeked and
Oh,
2 Old Pond Street,
do
so
we have to vote?
240, 611, yeah, it's the work's all complete, they've done everything, so.
Have they
it'd be
given you the money?
No, he's supposed to be in tomorrow. If we don't get the money, he doesn't get his paperwork.
Okay, so we can vote on that tonight?
Yeah, to issue a full certificate of compliance,
Okay,
if the commission is agreeable.
so,
Are you happy, Janet?
I was happy.
Okay, so
They didn't
Janet's
hurt
happy, we're happy.
okay, what is the DEP number 240, what, 611?
611, yep.
Okay, why don't we, I'll entertain a motion then for a certificate of compliance for 24611, 2 Old Pond Street.
Make a motion for the certificate of compliance for 2 Old Pond Street, number 240-611.
For a COC.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Anybody here regarding this? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes.
Doing good, guys. Oh, also the town report that Amy had prepared,
Yep,
because they do that yearly book, the year in review, and all the departments, you do your little
yeah.
That last sheet.
book report on what you did. Being modest, but
I thought that third paragraph works well. And gives them a little bit of deep
yeah.
data of what we've been working on. So, I like it.
Complaints, criticisms, suggestions? Oh, wait, I already got turned in, sorry, because it was due, nope, this is, I think it was due the 10th to the selectmen.
Okay.
So,
Do I get to sign that? 'Cause I didn't.
No, you did.
I didn't. It won't go by me.
Okay. I'm sure if we needed any change, we could change.
well, I think she sent it on to you to look at, right? Yeah. And it's, you know, you're kind of using the boilerplate from the year before and
Exactly,
updating
yeah.
it.
We could make changes if we need.
So is anybody, after you read it, speak up.
Did you email it, remember?
Do we need to add in any of the executive sessions that we met, or no? Or is that
No.
just part of daily business?
Daily business.
Okay.
Let's put executive minutes, though, on the agenda for next month. Forgot about that completely.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the signs?
Yeah, hold on. Okay?
Yeah.
Fair? Okay. Good to go, Janet, Amy, I mean, thank you. Town report segment. Let's go through 360 Main Street. Did you officially send them a memo regarding our information, orders and conditions for Camden coating? We don't have them yet, right?
No, we had done previously a resource delineation on that.
Yeah.
And then I was, kind of, not too much notice, but they were having a meeting about their project, and I was brought in, so,
Oh, okay.
I kind of kicked the conservation football into the arena, but, you know, I gave them, I was very generous, because you know how much I enjoy my colored up plans, but I gave them my colored up because our scale was, whatever, one was 30.
Yeah.
Theirs was bigger, so I says I can't compare it for you guys, but this is the resource areas, because with, now it's, that area's zone commercial, next to it's residential too, I think, so there's 150-foot setback from the side.
Right.
So the whole project's gotta get shifted over closer to the resource areas, and it's like, the whole point of this was to get you guys away, so, you know, here's my plan, see if you can stretch out your detention basin, see what you can do to shift it away, because now, too, with it being a new lot, they lost grandfathering with riverfront and everything, so it's like,
Are they gonna go to the ZBA to see if they can get?
I don't know if they were going, I don't think, that's, you know, I
So
did my spiel and I
What's
left.
our action item?
Now we just wait, cause
We
this was
did-
planning board or zoning board, maybe
Planning
planning
board.
board, so.
So we don't owe the planning board anything at this point. We'll just wait till Camden comes in front of us. Okay.
Have you been on the site? Because I noticed all the trees have been cut down and
Well,
cleared.
that's for the house.
Could be the,
Well, that's for the house on the right
Yeah.
side behind the paddock?
Yeah.
yeah, where the, yeah.
Because I see it from my house and I'm hearing it. I've been watching a lot of trees go down, so. But, okay.
Okay. Okay, so that takes care of that. We got 2 more minutes. the signs.
Ooh.
We added one more item to the signs. We were ready to place the order. But Janet brought up, based on visual, but also comments from residents,
Yeah, I don't know if
that
you can
people
pass
are
around.
dumping in some of the conservation areas, town land. So we're gonna put no dumping allowed. And so they did send me one proof, but they forgot to put Norfolk Conservation Commission on the bottom. And it's going to be priced out both in the 18 by 12 and 24 by 24. So I'll probably have that tonight, so I'll show them to you tomorrow. And we've already voted to buy the sign, so we can go ahead and buy them.
Now, is this the signs, or what about the posts?
The posts are DPW's donating them. I talked to Blair, and they've got a huge pile of them for the streets
Are
signs.
they all the same color? Do we have a choice?
We have to paint them, I think. Or they-
Yeah, they're brown, I believe, or we'd have to paint,
Natural.
I think they're natural.
Alan
We'll paint them
volunteered.
whatever color you'd like. no
Alan
problem.
volunteered to,
We'll take care of you, whatever color.
Okay, and then the nuts and bolts or whatever to hold
Yeah.
it
Yeah, we'll-
together? Okay, super.
DPW take care of that.
Do you know how many signs roughly, or does it depend on
No,
the
I need to
size?
go through it because of the new list that you provided and what we talked about today.
Oh,
Like, Maple Street Conservation needed to, and
right.
stuff like that, so, yeah, I'll add them up again, and, so, yeah, I'll have the quote tomorrow.
Because, as many signs as we need, if we can use that money, because we have.
They're only about $75 each, so I think we'll be good to,
Good. Because there's other areas too that'll need signs, but we just want to verify first to make sure it is.
yeah, I mean, we went through the original list of our conservation trails and stuff, Lynn Farms and the other ones, so that's why I need to pull out and go through.
Okay, you're gonna
So-
stop by tomorrow and if you
We'll
have
see what the
time.
weather is,
Oh, yeah, that's right, no.
but I can talk
Okay.
to you on the phone.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, within a week, we'll have them, I think, a week, 2 weeks, so
Have locations been marked on where we're gonna put them, or are we gonna go out and?
we'll go out.
It's a
and-
surprise.
Okay.
And the other thing regarding trails is I've talked to Blair at DPW and about getting wood chips for Campbell Forest because the trail is all worn down and stones and roots are showing. So they're going to provide us wood chips and help spread them to us. And Janet ran into Sam Woodward's father yesterday, and they want chips on the other side by Alice Street. So tomorrow I'll get a hold of Blair and get them going and tell them we're ready to go to start Campbell Forest on both ends.
Super,
But,
be good.
yeah, and so we'll try to level off, it'll be a nicer pathway to walk on.
Super, good, thank you.
Okay, it's 7:30, Meetinghouse Road. Did the DEP number come in?
No, last time I checked, they,
I searched again today, didn't see a number.
Okay.
Looking at those, do you know which plan you'd like me to put up, like the original plans we received, but then some new ones that they put
You can go to, we can start with EC1.
And it-
For the record, my name is Nathan Collins with CLC Design. I am here on behalf of the applicant, NextGrid Inc., who is proposing a ground-mounted solar array at the 41 Meetinghouse Road behind the existing townhouse development.
Can you put the microphone closer to you? It's for the people at home.
Understood. So this particular project is approximately 250 kilowatt ground-mounted solar array, and again, it's located on an existing undeveloped portion of the townhouse property. One of the reasons why we're before you guys today is part of the project requires work within your 100-foot buffer to a wetland resource area. The applicant originally hired an environmental scientist who came out and reviewed the area. The resource area in question is this low depression here. It was actually originally constructed as a detention pond.
Wait a minute, Amy, could you blow that up for us? Oh, go back down.
It was originally constructed as a detention pond for the townhouse development. However, the Townhouse Association wasn't able to provide adequate maintenance records, and the Mass DEP Oliver site actually deems it as a human-altered shrub swamp. So, again,
But, excuse me, but that was put in because of the planning board on the original development. Don't they have a say in that, of being taken away as a retention basin?
We've been in front of the planning board, and they are leaning, I think, to your commission
Okay.
In terms of that designation.
Okay.
But we've actually, last night, received conditional approval through the Norfolk Planning Board as part of this project. But, so if scale out a little bit, the project will require the overall clearing of just under an acre of vegetation. The work within the buffer zone, again, we're staying out of the 50-foot no disturb, which is designated as this buffer here, and this represents your 100-foot. The work within that 100-foot buffer is approximately 10,000, a little over 10,000 square feet, 10,200 square feet, to construct this proposed solar array. This particular plan you're looking at is the erosion control plan. So the applicant is proposing a straw wattle around the limits of the clearing, as well as a straw wattle line here, this bold dash line, to protect any sediment going into the proposed detention pond during construction. And there's also a series of straw wattles proposed along the slope, again, to assist in preventing sediment into that detention basin during construction and during termination of the seed. If you want to go to C1.
How far away from your lot line on the right side by Union Street
Sure.
are you?
I can
Is
show.
that on this plan as well?
That'll be shown on this plan. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the actual site plan. So
Can you blow it up just a titch?
the closest point here, so we're maintaining a 50-foot no clearing from. So this line here we're representing is a 50-foot no clear to that residential property line. In many areas, it's actually greater than 50 feet, but the closest actual concrete structure is 100 feet from that property line. The closest solar array would be down here. So as you can see, the general layout, the slope grades kind of north to south. We're maintaining as much of the natural grade as possible. We'll have to do a little bit of grading for this proposed access drive, which will come off the drive to the pump house that currently services the condo development or townhouse development. The gravel drive, again, will provide access for maintenance vehicles, emergency vehicles if needed. All has been reviewed with the Norfolk Fire Department. For purposes of drainage, as I noted, we're maintaining the existing grade to the maximum extent possible. There is a shallow drainage swale that will be on the eastern side of this gravel drive. We're showing a series of check dams within that swale to help with sediment control. And then to direct runoff that currently kind of all flows off-site towards the abutters, we're proposing a drainage swale on this east end, again with a series of check dams which will direct runoff to what you see here as this proposed infiltration pond. The pond itself, we performed test bits on site. Again, we worked with Beta Group fairly extensively through the planning board process, but although this detention pond looks large, it's only basically 1 foot and 4 inches deep. And that's due to just the underlying soil conditions. But our design is storing and infiltrating the 100-year storm event and we have a foot of freeboard around 3/4 of the detention pond with an emergency overflow that'll continue, in an event greater than a 100-year storm event, would continue flow of water to its natural direction. So again, the work that we're proposing is limited to the area between the 50 and 100-foot buffer. No work is within the 50-foot buffer zone, and we've pushed this gravel drive as far north as possible to stay outside of the buffer zone within that area. We have submitted to Natural Heritage. This area does lie within a Natural Heritage area for, I believe it's the box turtle. But we have not received a letter back from them yet.
Where are the condos in relation to that?
If you zoom way out, or I can tell that. If you're familiar with, this is the easternmost access drive off of Meetinghouse. And this is the existing pump station for the sewer treatment system. So it's the area behind that, if you're familiar. So the grade drops off very steeply to a little pond area, and then it kind of gradually slopes back up. And this is the water tower.
If I'll just show them this cover.
Yeah,
one,
on the
too.
front cover page.
Right, look at this, this is the cover. And then the opinion. That's where they want to work.
The area of disturbance with the solar arrays will be reseeded with a conservation mix. There's actually two seed types proposed in the planning board's conditions that the applicant has no opposition to.
What do you do, cut it a couple times a year?
Correct, yeah, there was an operation and maintenance plan that was provided with this application as well for review. And the one thing that's not shown on this plan that was discussed last night that I'm still working on with the planning board is we are going to add some additional evergreen vegetation along this fence line to provide more screening to the abutters along Union Street.
Just curiosity, what size evergreens will we be putting in? 2-foot ones or something a little bit?
Based on the town's bylaws, it has to be a minimum of 6 foot high at installation.
Oh, okay.
And where exactly we're
So,
gonna plant the?
It's going to be along this eastern fence line.
That's it.
I'm in the process of working that out with the town planner.
Just if it's inside the fence?
No, it will be it'll be outside the proposed chain link fence. So,
Okay.
it's a good point, is around the perimeter of, basically the limits of clearing will be a 6 foot high black vinyl coated chain link fence. That'll be set 6 inches off the ground to help with critters, if you will.
Will those trees, shrubs, whatever they're gonna be maintained for a while to make sure they take?
Yes, so
I've
again,
had them die before, many of them.
within your zoning bylaw, there's a maintenance requirement associated with what they refer to as a green belt. That, although we are outside of the 100-foot buffer requirement, we've worked with the planning board that the applicant has agreed to install additional vegetation. And as part of that, they'll be required to provide a maintenance fund.
Janet?
Right, and just so you know, because remember the human altered up on the Oliver site, so I called DEP because usually they have backup.
Sure.
I gave her the number, the information, can you share anything, and I'm still waiting for a return. So, just trying to do my part for you.
But it was a retention pond, according to Rich.
Well, that's something that I heard about this afternoon.
Yes.
Anything we get is supposed to be Monday before 6 o'clock,
Yep,
so we
yep.
can look into that, you know. But I appreciate you, regardless of what it is, calling out the area. I do appreciate that, thank you. Now if I can push that niceness envelope just a little bit, if you can just look at my photos from the other day, this is minor.
Sure.
Stop, I hear that chuckling. I haven't kids. Because I went up there, so that was whatever day I was there. and everything, from both ends. But my concern, okay, this is the top end, the water tower behind it. So this top end here, I got a whole bunch of leaves, so I just really might need to clean it. I don't know how many, they already did one. Anyway, so it's on this upper end here, but if somebody can just maybe spot check, is it possible? Just to make sure I won't have a problem if that's within that 50-foot, you know, the do not disturb area, and then, you know, there's no quibbling about it, you know. I just wanna make, I'm not sure if that's additional, whatever, you know. But that's obviously an area where water is going now, so
Yeah.
make sure that there's room for it.
Okay. I would have to defer to the weather scientist who flagged it.
No, that's fine, but
Yeah.
just, you know, is it within that 50 foot that they're talking about? If it is, then we're all good. You know, that 0 to 50 do not disturb.
Sure.
Because then whatever's happening there is left the way it is, and it can just.
Yeah, it looks like that's on the northern side of that, of the pond.
You're facing the
northeast.
water tower on this side over here.
Right, and that's the area that we're actually outside of the buffer zone completely with our work.
Oh, look at my wonderful photo. What? Oh, yeah, so
You'd have to go to the map.
Yeah, you're referring, you saw some staining,
Yeah.
moisture outside of the flagged area, I think is what you're referring to?
yeah, so that's, and if you go top and bottom, so, yeah, the bottom left-hand one, the water tower's in front of me. So it's that upper right-hand side. The other one here is the ones on the right-hand side of the paper. The top one, the water tower's behind me, so that's like the inlet part of this or whatever. And below it is those leaves on the left now, you know, depending which way you're facing. So just to make sure that it's in, you know, within that do not disturb area, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, we're not clearing within, we're not doing any work inside 50 feet of that.
Well, I can, you know what, I can just run back too and just measure with my 200 footer, make sure we're good to go. Okay, so we're still waiting to hear from Natural Heritage.
Correct.
Okay, and still, oh, and just because, no, the front sheet of your plan says 41 Meetinghouse, and that's wrong, it's just Meetinghouse Road. Because technically 41 Meetinghouse is one of the condo units.
Okay.
So just a point. Right, we're waiting to hear from Natural Heritage. Right, oh, because we never even, I didn't know, when you send that up to Natural Heritage, is that certified mail?
That was certified mail, yeah.
Okay.
I provided copies of the receipt when I dropped off the notice of intent.
You knew that was coming, good for you, okay. All right, and then, yeah, I think just, I know, and it was nice that some of the abutters were in with just questions, you know, about, impacts to their property. So you still have to go back to planning board?
We do, I have to,
No, because you got,
we got conditional approval last night. I have to work out some, the final, just planting with Rich. But it doesn't require us to go back in front of the board. Because as part of the condition, we're gonna propose plantings, and we're still, after construction, gonna have a site walk to see if more plantings have to be installed,
so this plan is the plan that planning board's accepting, so there's no changes to be made on this plan?
Just, I have to show some planting on the eastern side on the site plan, but all the other, in terms of drainage, in terms of layout, access, has been conditionally approved as of last night.
And then one, I know you've been waiting for somebody to ask this. Where the little square is for the water tower, that bottom left-hand corner, what's with that 30-foot wide easement from a plan?
So this is an easement that, you're talking about this corner?
Yeah,
So that is an easement that the townhouse development worked out with the Norfolk Water Department. So currently, right now, the water department accesses their tower north of here. And I don't know if they pay or I think they pay the association. So they worked out a easement agreement. And one of the reasons, another reason, slopes, wetland We also, the town is gonna be able to kind of put a 90 off of this access drive to access their water tower site at no cost at some point in the future.
So so the town will be using that, they're allowed to use that?
They will be able to use that, right.
The town is trying to eliminate, Janet, our access road now is around the back of the
Right.
condos, which we are paying a large amount of money to Borelli, who owns the property, for access, so we want to access on this side now, so we can close off that and not be driving up behind the people's properties, and so the town's trying to work it out where we can access it from this side
And not do a payment.
and not paying to access the tank.
Oh, and I know on one of the sheets they were talking about, like, basically not changing any of the grading in that whole area where your panels are going, right?
That's correct, yeah. I do have a grading plan, at sheet C2.
There's a lot of boulders and miscellaneous trees and everything out there though, right?
Well, the trees will be, within that area, the trees will be cleared. I can't speak to what the applicant will do with some of those boulders, but, yeah, see.
So the pitch out there is okay for all the solar, the way
Correct.
it is now? So they don't have soils that they have to dig up and pull out of there?
They do not. So again, these bold lines represent the proposed contours, and obviously there's some grading associated with construction of this gravel drive. It's still relatively steep, but because it's not technically a road, the planning board was okay with that in terms of access, because you're talking about trucks coming out here a handful of times a year to do maintenance and just check on things. So that's the limit of the grading for the drive. There's some minor grading around this detention pond. And then all of this is just kind of maintaining existing grade. It'll be obviously different vegetation and cover type, but right now it's wooded and it will be grassed, as I said. And then there's this is that swale that I talked about on this side to help direct water towards that detention pond.
Do they expect any overflow from the side there, or do they think that it's all gonna just?
Right now, that pond is sized to accommodate the 100-year storm event and infiltrate it all. I think the peak elevation is about 256.42, and the emergency overflow wear is 256.6, and then there's a berm here that's 257.5.
Just to make sure that, okay.
Right.
Oh, and then last thing, though, you're not gonna, hopefully last thing, you're not gonna wrap up, I just suggest waiting to hear from Natural Heritage, because sometimes, as far as vegetation, then you're into mowing certain times of year or whatever.
Understood. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they have 30 days. I think was submitted the revised plans the same day as the notice of intent, which was the 29th, 28th, that Wednesday. So they have a little bit more time to respond, but.
But hopefully we'll have that plenty of time before the next meeting, so, okay, super.
Any more questions, Janet?
No, I think that kind of took a lot of my wind out of my sails. Thank you very much for your patience.
Any other board members?
We've already worked out the seed mix for the planning board.
Yes, that was, I believe, condition number, or miscellaneous condition number 1,
Okay.
where they referenced, I think, 2 different seed types that they were okay with.
I have two, is the structure, there's a structure gonna be on where all the wire or cable goes from the solar panels to a structure?
Correct. There's 2 paths here.
Okay.
Outside of and then you have your pad inside that is only accessible by, but they're all outside of the buffer zone.
Okay, the question I would have, is that gonna be illuminated with any kind of light?
There are no lights proposed as part of this
Okay.
project.
And you're not in the way of.
Is there any temporary berms put up during construction?
No, our goal is to, as I shown, just a series of erosion control protection that'll be up until that seed establishes, particularly on the sloped areas. And as I said, we're also showing a straw wattle around all of the downslope sides of the limit of work. I don't think we have it up here because water's all coming off that hill.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay, I'll open it up to the public, if anybody would like to comment. If you do, please get a microphone and say your name and address. And please limit your points of discussion to wetlands and conservation and not the plan itself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Burns. I'm an abutter that lives at 32 Union, so that's this plot of land right over here. I haven't been to one of these before. What would you like me to do for standing, or is this good right here?
Perfect.
I just want to say at the outset that I am for renewable forms of energy production, so I think we're at least on the same page as far as that goes. My main concern is the runoff that may occur, and I appreciate what's been said about maintaining the existing grading, but what you might not see, well, you probably see to some degree, is there's a pretty decent slope coming down to my own property, and I've received water in the basement in the past after a couple of days of rain, and if we're talking about substantially altering, you know, basically the ecosystem here and taking down trees and replacing it with sod, you know, is that going to exacerbate the runoff that will occur through even the natural slope? Will the existing sod be able to absorb the water, you know, that the trees had in the past? And what you probably are not able to tell from this plan is there's a fair amount of ledge running right through this slope right here. In a lot of places it comes right to the surface. So it's not ready-made to just absorb water as it is right now. So that's a primary concern, is that it's going to have a negative impact to my house and to the basement, you know, this project here. I don't know exactly what a swale is or how it was determined to go to this point right here, so I'm interested to know more about that. And I'm just curious to know, you know, the potential negative impact to my own property and what, if there is a negative impact, can be done, I guess, after the fact.
Okay.
So I guess probably the easiest question is, going from forested area to a grass area, there's an increase in runoff, and that would be why you have the berms, at the heights that you have the berms?
Correct, and as well as the detention pond to offset any peak flows. So we actually analyze it in 3 areas, and the stormwater summary is provided in the application, but you have kind of your catchment area 1 that flows to this existing detention pond. The ridge line is about, you know, approximately here, and then you can kind of see it's almost a natural swale that directs water here, and then there's a ridge line right along here. So we had a catchment area 3 and a catchment area 2, and then 1. And we analyzed all 3 for both the town of Norfolk is actually the 2, the 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm event. And in all scenarios where we're not increasing any runoff, whether it be peak flow rate or volume, off of the site based on this development. And that report was reviewed by
And
Data Group.
that part was okay in the peer review?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I
Yeah,
think
we-
we had a couple of minor changes, but nothing major.
Well, so the changes associated with were the infiltration rates used or assumed at first. We then performed actual in-place test pits. We felt we used an additional conservative rate, but Beta Group requested that we use an even more conservative rate, and that's what the final report is based off of. So personally, I believe water is actually going to infiltrate faster into this particular area where we're directing it than is what's currently proposed and designed.
Was that, so basically it's, the science is that there's a different rate of absorption in a forested area versus a grass area, and there's more runoff in a grass area. So when they do the calculation, that's what they do, and the detention pond's based on the permeability of the soil type that's there. So, and then they do it based on, they go all the way up to a 100-year storm. So,
Yeah.
and then we also had a peer review outside this company that reviews all his calculations, And the report we got back is that they had a couple of minor changes, but all the changes that were done made it so that it would be at least a 100-year storm effect, would catch all the water on this site.
Thank you both for clarifying. I just have a couple of follow-up questions, if I could. So I still am a little unclear as to what a swale is. I would imagine by the context that it's some kind of manufactured something or other to assist in helping water to
It's,
direct.
It's natural grade, but basically what you do is you contour it to use it to direct water to where you want the water to go, if you will. So right now, as you can see, so if water were to hit here, it would flow along this channel and it would be directed into this detention pond. Right now, water just sheet flows down to, the abutting properties.
Okay.
And we revised the layout for the portion of originally we were clearing more land up here, and we actually brought the solar panels on the opposite side of that ridge line
Yeah.
to help mitigate any, again, off-site.
So the solar panels, and I don't know if we want to flip back and forth between this and the other, but so they would begin roughly around here, the solar panels?
Yeah, if you take this fence line and you offset it 15 feet, that would be the first panel.
But there will be trees and whatnot removed in this general area.
Correct.
How was it determined, I guess this is the peak right here, will there be, I mean, there would be runoff, I would assume, coming down this way, not assisted by the swell?
That flow pattern will remain the same, because we're not changing any grades here, so that flow pattern remains the same.
Okay. And I guess just not really being as close to these construction projects, but I assume probably during construction with large machinery running up there and removing trees, how do you ensure that the grade ultimately doesn't change when you're doing that level of work?
I'm not sure what the requirements and the conditions are in terms of as-builts, but I know speaking, applicant not being here, but he's not going to want to change the grades because it's going to cost him money, if that makes sense.
No. I would think the town planner would be involved in
Right.
those type of aspects. So if you want to talk about those type of things, talk to Rich McCarthy, call him.
Rich and I were actually talking about it
Oh, okay.
a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, he's the point person for those kind of questions.
Okay.
That's out of our jurisdiction, really, but of how they measure and stuff. We just want to make sure where the water flow is and that it's retained properly.
So I guess, and I alluded to it earlier, like, if this project does have a negative impact to my own house as a result of, anything that could happen that was unanticipated, the water's flowing a different way or whatever, at what point do I have a recourse, I mean, again, I'm for solar and renewable energy, but not at the expense of having a flooded basement.
Again, that's out of our jurisdiction. You'd have to talk to Rich again. I would think he could, I would be the applicant, I would think, but Rich would be the one to talk about those type of issues with.
Okay.
That's outside of our
So it's not necessarily an environmental type of situation?
as long as they meet,
Jurisdiction only extends to the wetland resource areas.
yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Well, one important thing too is, even with the calculations aside, you're better off now because all the water that's on the site is sheeting towards your house. So now, any water that's going to start coming down any of the on that property is actually going to go into the detention pond. So it's hard to say where your water is coming from in this area based on, ledge and all of that. But what we're trying to do is make it so that, and our position has always been, we protect the environment and we don't want to create another issue like would happen in Butte.
Flooding.
We have stood up to the railroad.
Yes.
Made them actually go out and they had to map out all the houses on the route, the double track, and then they went out during the rainstorm to watch where all the rain went and then they actually ended up redoing their plan, because that's what we asked them to do. So,
Because the residents had, the butters had the same questions.
so,
Well, again, I don't mean to take more time. Just
That's
one quick
okay.
follow-up. Is this what's being done here, and I understand all the calculations that are factored into it, is this sort of a best-in-class approach when it comes to siting a solar array at the top of a hill that has this potential for error or negative, not that it will, but it has the potential? Or, you know, do other projects sometimes involve like a French drain or some kind of a, again, I don't know what goes on with here, but maybe like a half pipe of cement or something to more efficiently carry the water away as opposed to mounding up the earth? Or like what generally is done in these kinds of projects to?
I'll let,
I mean, it varies significantly per site, soil types, ground coverage. But, you know, this particular project, we're actually not adding any impervious area. This is gravel, but isn't technically impervious area. And when you talk about a cement half pipe, that's a swale, but we're just doing it with the natural earth because we don't want to add impervious area because that directs water faster to where you're trying to send it. So, you know, this is more of kind of what's called country drainage, if you will, trying to use the existing earth and use the existing kind of profiles to the best practices available. And again, as I noted, based on the design, we're actually in several storm events significantly decreasing the amount of water that's coming off of this site existing.
and I think because they're not redoing the grade, it's a win-win situation. We have another applicant in town that's for another solar farm, and they're near wetlands, and there'll be a lot of digging because there's stuff in the ground that they'll need to dig up. And so that's completely changes everything. And so, yeah, this is a nice approach to it, and I think, as you say, the country approach to, and that's what we like to see is more natural type flow and berms and stuff to direct the water.
Okay, and it would go without saying, I suppose, but the swale is mounded in a substantial enough manner that
So
erosion
foot and a
over.
half high or something, did you say?
Well, the swale isn't mounded, it's actually a depression.
Okay.
So again, to channel water to where you want it to go.
Okay.
So think of, you know, you talked about a half pipe, or I forget what you called it, but made out of concrete. It's the same idea, we're just using natural landscaping, natural soil. So it's a grassed half pipe, if you will.
Okay. And is it too late in the planning process to consider even extending that swale, or is?
Well, grading-wise, this is a ridge.
Okay.
So, you know, current existing water, if it was to
So it's a natural swale. Is that what you're saying?
natural mound.
Mound. Okay.
Yeah, which is different. You know,
Okay.
this is the high point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Of the area. So you have water flowing this way, water flowing this way.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody?
just keep in touch with Rich.
Yeah.
The applicant's nice enough to add trees where he's asked, so don't be afraid, you know, along the process, that town, you know, they work very well. When we get an applicant like this that's willing to do things outside the premise of what they have to do, there's always a good sign. So,
Hi, I'm Barbara Carter. I'm at 36 Union Street, which is the triangle shape next to Paul.
Yep.
I've been to the planning board meetings, 4 of them. I also submitted a letter to the planning board,
Yes, we
and
received
hopefully
that
you guys
today.
got that too. So
Yep.
you probably saw my page 2 concerns, which were, you know, regarding wildlife and drainage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really concerned about drainage, as Paul is. And as I said in the letter, you know, there's a couple of things going on, and this is beyond my, you know, my knowledge level. I don't know anything about wetlands or drainage, but the fact that the old one was deemed a wetland makes me nervous. You know,
Which old one? The one on the left?
the old town one. Yep.
That was developed for the Meetinghouse Road development,
Okay.
for their runoff.
So I guess my point is, it seems like it was deemed a wetland because it was either there was inaccurate record keeping, or there was something that it wasn't maintained, or it wasn't, there was something that wasn't done for that. And I would hope that that wouldn't happen with this one, because you can see how close it is to my home, and it's a very, very steep, it's steep from that land down to my yard and my home. So the planning board has approved the plan, as you've said. The engineer has looked at it. All I can do is hope that the engineers are right, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's really nerve-wracking because this thing is sitting level and then there's a hill. And I know, Nathan, you had talked a couple of months ago about that. So you've got the berm and the swale, but there was that, was it 2B? What you were talking about, which
Sure.
which made my husband nervous. It sounded like, I didn't come away from that meeting realizing that everything was going into the detention pond. It seemed like there was going to be some water going down the hill.
So the only water that's going to continue to go down the hill is the area that we're not clearing. It's going to perform.
It's
as it
not
does
being
today.
touched. Okay.
Correct. So, typically with drainage design, you design for the area that you disturb, if you will. So right now, as I said, there's kind of 3 catchment areas, 1, 2, 3 existing. But because we're clearing part of portion 2, we're sending a chunk of that to this detention pond, and that's what we're referring to as 2A. But 2B is the area that currently flows off-site that is not being altered.
So is 2B at all impacted by the fact that?
No.
No. At all?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, as I noted, this particular area where the total amount of water that is flowing over land off-site within this footprint is actually being decreased as part of this development because we're slowing it down, storing it, and infiltrating it.
Okay.
Janet, do you have a comment regarding the old retention
Yeah,
pond?
I don't know if you saw that, have you seen that little wetland up there?
It's the mic.
I was just there.
Janet, can you use the microphone?
The mic. I'm so sorry. I'm talking into the mic. But see, right now, it's like a big ice skating pond.
Yes.
But it's got like a berm on this side, a berm on both sides. So when water comes to this area, it can't go into it. It depends how much can go into the ground. Right now, we're still kind of frozen. So that later on, this might all dry up. But it's kind of trapped here, like a puddle in your yard or whatever.
Yeah.
What they're doing with this detention basin, though, is if the water's coming here, they calculate how much water's coming, they check the ground for how much can soak into the ground, and if you get a really lot of rain, they have that overflow, so the extra spills out.
Okay.
It's sort of like the overflow on your tub. If there's a problem, it goes through the hole.
Right.
They're designing, they're calculating everything, so if they get way too much, they have a way to have that go out somewhere safe,
Okay. Okay. I can understand that as much as I can understand that. But I'm still also concerned about, and I put it in my letter about, what kind of recourse do I have if if my basement does start to flood? And there was no comment on that from the planning board. They
A
actually.
question for a point of just information. The land, the ledge that you're concerned about, and what you referred to as 2B, who owns that land? Are you the property owner of that, or is that town property?
It's
or-
a little bit of both, right? So
Or is it Meetinghouse Association?
Meetinghouse,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so I'm up to here, right? And
That's
then,
correct,
And then
yes. Correct.
that's Meetinghouse.
And we analyze to our property line.
So it's owned by the association but not affected by this project?
That is correct.
I'm sorry.
And just whenever she's, maybe one comment at a time.
You need a microphone and identify yourself, please.
Rob Stadolnik, 107 Meetinghouse Road. Just looking at that land that you're talking about, I believe the land is not owned by the condo association. It's owned by Mr. Borelli,
Oh,
correct?
No, the property owner is the Norfolk.
Condominium Trust. Right, that, I don't believe. It is? Oh, okay.
that's you?
The chairman of the trustees.
Okay, Sorry about
That's okay.
Opportunity for a question?
Sure.
Just to follow up on some of the discussion that was happened earlier regarding plantings and sight lines. I know we talked about the east side of the property that abuts Union. I'm curious to hear about the west side that abuts
Sure.
all of the Meetinghouse
So
properties.
if you can see this strip, that's all vegetation that's going to remain. At its shallowest point is 50 feet of wooded area. That will be maintained and non-touched. It's hard to see, but there's a line here. It's kind of a clouded line that represents the existing tree line. So this entire area in between the solar array and that slope is going to be existing maintained vegetation, untouched.
And so as you get down closer to the retention pond, it looks like it's a little bit thinner than 50 feet, at least on the image that you have here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to scale it. This is a 50-foot buffer from the line, so maybe it's 45. I'd have to scale it off, but it's approximately 50 feet.
Okay. And then you said that there's a 6-foot black fence. That would also be on the west side as well?
That would be on the east side of the new tree line.
The east side, so the side that abuts Union Street, not...
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's around the entire perimeter of the solar array. It's fully enclosed, it's gated and locked.
And where was the gate gonna be?
Right at this location here,
So Public Works can still access?
the water tower
Okay.
in the future if needed, or when needed, I should say.
Alan's with the Water Department.
So do you have to now go back to planning board, or?
We do not, no.
Oh, okay. I keep getting confused, don't I? Right, because they kind of wrap that up. Do you have to go to the zoning board?
We will have to go to ZBA for the special permit.
Okay. So we're still, for us though, we're waiting for?
Natural
file
heritage.
number.
DEP file number and natural heritage.
Okay.
Can I ask a real quick follow-up, and I promise I'll
Sure, that's okay.
I only asked this because my man over here brought some new information to light when we had a little sidebar just now. But apparently, I don't know if you want to get on mic, buddy, but the compaction of the, I forgot the name of the thing already, but the swale
Well,
is of paramount importance. Would you say that's correct?
I'd have to look at the specifications, but certainly no more than 90%.
It's your approval? Okay, very good. Thank you again.
I've never been to the
That's okay.
to the Concom. Wildlife. What do you guys look for? Like, what is it?
And someone to answer that for you, too. So, they've done a lot of different studies. If you look on a site like this, where there's a lot of trees and stuff, it's very similar. Animals need a place to live, need a place to breed, place to eat. If you look at like birds, if you have a totally forested area, there's very little insect for them. But once you grass this area, you're going to increase the insect population. That's why you have to have that buffer underneath the fence, because all the groundhogs, all the mice, squirrels,
Rabbits.
will all be running through there. And it provides a natural habitat for the animals. That's why if you go, you'll see the Forest Service and their forested lands will actually do clear-cut sections, and that's to allow for low brush, grasses, and that stuff, type of stuff to grow for feed for the animals. So in a forested area, something like this actually is beneficial.
And then natural heritage looks at any rare species, and that whole area is part of natural heritage, so, yeah, they'll have their comment, but if it's only the box turtle, then,
don't say only, sir.
We have
I get
two
the
of
box
these-
turtle in my yard, laying eggs every year.
Well,
At least I think it's the box turtle.
we need to talk. Oh, big
Ooh.
usually is
snapping
snapper.
don't go near it.
Yeah.
DPW
Don't let your
has
dog
two of
near
these,
Box
and
turtles like this.
You will be surprised at the animals that you'll see hawks living, they'll land on the solar array panels. You'll find fox, they'll dig holes underneath and they'll live under them. It's amazing, we see it all the time.
Birds nest underneath
yeah.
underneath the solar
So
panels.
it
yeah.
almost draws them. they move in.
Amazing.
It is, but.
Is that, I mean, I like that, but is it a good thing? Is there
Yeah,
any
yeah.
problems?
Most definitely, most definitely.
They're there anyways now, it gives
Balance
them a
of
better environment, like Jim said, good habitat. Any other questions from the audience?
Not for me.
Any more from the board? Then I'll entertain a motion to continue the Meetinghouse Road Solar Array until March 11th at 7:30.
Move to continue the hearing for Meetinghouse Road Solar Array to March 11th at 7:30.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, residents, for coming.
One thing while we're here, they had a, his wife, one of the women she teaches with at HR Day School, her son tried to
Yeah,
get
that's
a
great,
teacher
Bill, I know you mailed them.
and he was looking for a project. So I was just talking to Janet.
That's great.
One of the things that,
Oh, and you'll
I
mail
was
them
looking
the
at
check?
like the All Trail
Yes,
map.
105.
One of the things, we have 2 trails that are mapped in town.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if maybe like we could ask him to map all the trails as part of his project, as opposed to cleaning up
Yeah.
something or.
It might
that
be a
was just
bigger
thought.
project, I mean, take one trail at a time, but that would be a great one. I think
How many do you think there are altogether?
What's that?
How many trails are there that would need to be mapped?
one, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9
But keep in mind, they don't,
plus.
they don't all already have trails.
No, that's what I mean,
Oh,
but
oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I guess 2 are marked.
yeah, so Lynn Farm may be marked. I don't know if that's
You
for
said the
sure.
Top 2,
Pondville Conservation? Well, that's just the walk around, isn't it?
For what, I'm sorry.
The Pondville Conservation Land on Pond Street? 78 Pond Street?
is that just?
Is
go
that
around?
just the recreation
Is this
center?
like
Yeah.
a brain dead look here?
I don't know, because there is a walking path out in the
Yeah,
woods.
it's
that
just-
goes
Yeah,
to Ponds
across the
and
street from
across
the
the
wreck.
street
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah, but that's Stony Brook.
Oh,
All the way down there?
Pondville, right,
Stony Brook
Pondville.
is the
No, there's a
actual road
sign.
area.
There's a sign on the right side as you're going south on 115 that
State.
says
That-
Pondville.
Right.
That's state property.
But no,
isn't it?
no, that's town.
That's town.
That's
Oh, I
town.
thought,
And
Ours
it's
is-
here, Pondville,
State's
and
on the
then
left.
here's Lynn.
Yeah.
yes.
They're 2 separate, they touch, but
Oh,
they're 2
okay,
separate
okay,
things.
okay.
The state is all on the left.
Yeah.
on Pond Street.
What I would suggest, Lynn Farm does have some trails, but they're in awful shape. And I would say that would be the first one to go after. And what it would do is he could clear them, and then he could, yeah, with the new GPS map, you can map it. And I would say if he can do that one in a short amount of time, and then go after one of the other ones. But he has to have buddies so they could, you know, they might be able to blaze through some of these quickly.
And if I might, just, the Lind, and I think we have it, but we have actual maps, because someone, I think it was Andy Bakanowski's son, went out there and did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we've got the sheet of paper that shows all the trails, so if someone going out trying to tweak it, if they've got that stuff, that they can go out there and fix what needs to be
Yeah.
repaired or redirected or whatever.
Have them go see Janet.
Yeah.
We talked
See.
about- we
Janet
talked
and
about-
Amy.
I think in general, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good project.
We had them start, because the Lions have been going through and cleaning some of the trails.
Oh, just Campbell.
Yeah, and then so, yeah, if we get somebody to map them, that would be, especially now, 'cause I mean, I have the All Trails app and it just pops up and it gives you the trails and where
Yeah.
everything is, and maybe that's one thing you could do is add it to that system.
Well, yeah,
That's what people use.
and
How
I
that works.
talked to the lady that does the book too, and I think they're all kind of related, that once we do that, map them out, and then have signs of here is where the trail is, then, yeah, it gets into all the systems. And then the other thing that Jane and I had been talking about is we'll get arrows of certain colors and and so that, you know, green goes here and it's out of the distance and blue this way and, you know, what a range of difficulty and stuff like that. So people don't get lost out there, especially Lynn Farm. I got lost out there because it's overgrown and you didn't know sometimes where the trail led.
No, but,
I
and
made it
that's,
back.
you know, I've been misplaced too, and it's not a good feeling, so, you know, you don't want that with, you know, you're trying to get people out there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is town, you know, that everybody's taken care of, donated, bought, whatever, that they can use, and you want them to feel comfortable out there and be able to go with kids or whatever else, you know?
Yeah, and the more trails that we can open up for everybody, I think it'll be appreciated by the town and even other towns. Once it's marked and in the trail system, then people from other towns and all will come in.
Different habitats, yeah.
Noon Hill in Medfield is a great trail, they say, to walk and to take your dogs and stuff. I'm gonna do that in March, when I have 2 shoes.
Could I
So-
bring up one other thing?
Sure.
You had suggested that we watch about an hour of the ZB meeting, you
Yes.
know, on 144C Conk. And I did, and it raised questions all over again. So when do you think that's coming back before us? And how should we be thinking about planning for that again? I thought it had gone away.
Do you have any idea, Amy, where ZBA is with 144? I would think it's would it be April?
I think right now they have an extension, if I don't have my 40Bs mixed up. I think it's through April 15th right now,
Tax day.
is the,
Because unless I misinterpreted, or Beta sort of said that there's probably a vernal pool, and there's
Yes.
probably a channel, and it's like, here we go again.
And so, picking up on that point, and what she had recommended, because I had gone to that meeting, is in March and April, when the time is right, go out and spot check, and the applicant is all in favor of that. So,
But they're not scheduled to come back before us yet.
no, but it would probably be in the April timeframe, I think, because they've got some more issues with ZBA. I don't know if they finished their line of sight for the driveway. That was the last big thing they were hung up on. And I don't know if any other issues, but somebody told me that it was probably March that they hope to get through ZBA.
March 31st is, right now, it's the expiration date is March 31st.
Okay. So we could ask for an extension.
Right.
After I saw Beta's report, I'd feel more comfortable if I actually could walk the site and see it myself.
That's a good point, Alan.
Well, that's it, and so that's, you know,
And
when
we
the
were offered
time is
that, and
right.
I
We
said,
didn't then, but now.
yeah, I said, no, no need. Now I
Right.
agree
Now
with you.
I'd like to see it, because there was standing water there.
Yeah.
You saw an actual path or where
Well,
runoff
it
was
sounded,
coming down.
like the Beta folks thought that it was groundwater.
Groundwater coming up too, yes, so.
And, yeah, they happened to be there after it rained, there was snow on the ground, and so there was water, and whereas we were summertime.
Yeah.
And, so, yeah, Beta did a nice thorough report, and kind of shows you a little difference of, groups. So, yeah, so I think once as we get closer to it, we could probably have some preliminary discussions, I don't know. But, yeah, we'll just have to pull out the Beta report and have Martha?
Marta.
Marty, they called her
Marta.
anyway, yeah.
Come and speak to us along with the applicant.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that would
review
be good.
things. So,
Especially talking about the specific ANRAD versus an ORAD on this particular site, and the BVW, and just having an ANRAD and not actually what it's bordering.
yeah.
That's what we're missing. So that wasn't part of the,
I'm sorry, could you run through that one more time? I wasn't clear what you're trying to say.
they only did an ANRAD for
Border.
bordering vegetative wetlands. the wetlands haven't been, isn't that part of the problem with that? They
In the
don't have
center of the
NORAD.
property, the
Oh,
wetlands have
okay.
never
And
been.
they need an ORAD.
We-
What it is, because you can have a pond, you got a bank, you got land underwater, you've got bordering vegetated wetlands, you got flood zone, there's all different kinds of things. When their application came for us, they had marked bordering vegetated wetlands. Is this line right, yes or no? So that's all we were requested and asked to check.
And that's what the state verifies.
Bordering vegetated wetlands, so it said nothing about banks, per se streams, any of those other things that might be there. They just asked about bordering vegetated wetlands. Is this line right, yes or no? And that's what we issued our paperwork on, just that one resource that we were asked about. So is there more or
Say
not?
We need to broaden that.
Well,
We need an ORAD,
So,
clear it.
possibly, yeah.
What he's trying to do is, what's happening is they're building, or they have an ORAD, it shows where they can actually go. And that's where, when it comes to us, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to make a distinction, is that, and it's not an ORAD for the whole entire property. And that's what happened on, with the cleanup off of,
Lawrence Street?
no, the one with the bridge, the land bridge.
The land bridge.
They had the bridge.
So we're
the
gonna watch
land
lawyers
bridge,
fighting again.
Meetings for that. We have all the hazardous waste. with the
Lawrence Street.
Lawrence Street. So problem with Lawrence Street is, they didn't do an ORAD, they just did ANRADs for parts of it. And then that was it. So that's why we need an ORAD for the whole property, so that we can better tell what's going on.
And yeah, of course, the applicant wants to
Yeah,
join them together, and you've already made a decision, and it's like, no, but they keep bringing that argument up. So, yeah,
I think if there's reason to believe that it's inaccurate, we could revoke it.
well, no, but,
in ANRAD?
The one that was approved, right, that sounds like
No,
that doesn't have.
because they came in with a plan, here's where the bordering is the key word. Bordering on what? But bordering vegetated wetland. Like this guy here, where's the edge of it? You had water in the middle of this little pond thing for the solar thing, but here they came in with the plan, here's our wetland flags. Do you agree, yes or no? So, and even the DEP form on the next page, it says, that's all you're agreeing to. It doesn't mean that there's not other things out there or whatever. You're saying, is this a microphone? Yes. There's other things on the table, but all we were talking about is this microphone. Yep, that's a microphone, so.
And like Marty said, bordering wetlands, well, where's the water? You've got to be next
There's
to,
other resource areas. They just
Exactly.
delineate them.
so that's what Beta, she did a good job on identifying things, so. Yeah, it was good, it's good to read what she wrote along with her, explain it all.
So you could do a SORAD, and say your site has 6 resource areas, so the SORAD would show all 6 resource areas. Or you could do an ANRAD, which is abbreviated, and do just one of the 6. So you had, 30 acres, and you're only gonna put in one house.
Well, who
So
puts
you
in the
do it
request
where
to
the
do
house is
a
and don't
broader,
Worry about the other.
who puts in the request to do a broader study of this?
That would be the applicant.
We
So
would ask the
We
applicant,
would ask the applicant to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've
That's
got
what needs to be done.
information based on Beta's report, and we'd like to
And then the facts
investigate
take
it.
us where they take us.
And this is the natural progression coming to our board that we can do that, so we're on better grounds.
But devil's advocate.
Of course.
But remember, their parcel comes in like this, and then this thing. But say, hypothetically, they were only gonna work on that top part. They might not care about all those other resources.
Yeah.
They just wanted, is there anything close up to here where we're proposing 6 houses or something? So it depends on the
The
situations.
scope of their
Yeah.
project.
Because remember, there is that other spot up where the road comes in, up on the, I'll say up the upper left side, where we thought there was a wet area that did identified, but again, without any water there, we don't know what it is, so.
This is a point of order. I think before we have too much more discussion on this, we should keep it as an agenda item on maybe a next meeting.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, any other unanticipated business? Did you do anything with the guy on Medway Street today? No.
No. I think Amy called him back, the man with the,
Norman?
He said he'd like to come in March.
Oh, okay. They didn't get copies of everything, did they?
No.
His email? There's a resident on Medway Street that brought to our attention, his backyard is basically getting flooded from a stream that goes from Sweetland Farms to Lake Street to those ponds to Miller Street and into the Charles. And on the corner of Myrtle and Miller Street, there's an old white house with a duck pond.
Yeah.
Well, that pond is higher, and this resident thinks that they've raised the level of the pond, which means all the water's backing up. But we've had a wet season. The ground is still frozen, so nature is playing part of it. But one of the things
There is a little danger.
yeah. So what we need to do is kind of investigate with the owner of that house to see what kind of dam it is, and did they put another bar in there, piece of wood, and raise the level of the pond, because the pond seems to be higher than it normally is. Huh?
He's a big boy.
He's dead.
Is he?
Yeah,
passed away?
the man passed away.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Last time I shook his hand, he almost took my arm off.
It was an older gentleman.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, he
He
passed
passed
away.
away recently. So, yeah,
just
we'll
be-
need
could
to,
be
and
just
he may have been the one
rush.
in charge of everything. So, we'll have to talk to his significant other, and try to
find
so
out what's going on.
find out what's going on.
Could be a beaver.
No,
No? 'Cause
No,
we've
no
had a lot of
beaver.
those dealing around
yeah.
town.
There's
no.
a lot of them
There's
in the Charles up there.
I was
There
gonna
is
say,
a-
there is a lodge in.
Yeah, it's a big one near
Charles
that
over there,
bridge.
a
Yeah.
big lodge.
Oh, yeah.
Right next to the bridge.
But there is a beaver between this guy on Medway Street and the Lake Street ponds behind people's houses. So, yeah, there are some, but he's done his investigating. And he was a civil engineer and worked on dams and this and that, so,
Yeah.
and he's retired, so he's been doing his investigations and stuff. So he said, no, there's no beavers. So he said, I really believe it's the dam at that house, so. We'll see, we'll check it out.
Oh, and one more last quick
Yes.
thing on my part. Today, email from Mass DOT, Department of Transportation, for Route 1A. So if you're on 115, heading out of Dodge, and then you hit 1A and you go this way. Okay. So there's a
By
culvert.
horse and carriage down there?
No.
No, other way. Towards-
That's on
Oh,
the
headed
corner,
north.
but yeah,
Towards
like you're going to
Southwood.
Okay.
to Southwood Hospital,
Yeah,
that way
yeah.
there. But a problem with some flooding. I guess some people have been calling about flooding. Yeah, and so they wanted to check with us because do we want to request for determination, or, you know, different towns hand them different ways and how they can go in and fix things. So this just came in this afternoon. The first one, you know, I ran down there real quick. And there is an actual culvert on, and I think they're actually willing to repair things, but that gets you a little nervous too. I've seen some bad jobs, but there's a culvert underneath, and I know occasionally it gets blocked with stuff coming through. One time it was actually a wooden door. Those flow a lot downstream, but when I went there today, it was open. But they're saying further up, but there's no pipe underneath, so I don't know if it's just road stuff. So I need to get in touch with them, see what they're talking about. Do they want to show me? What are they, you know, what are they talking about doing? Do they need a regular filing or what, you know? You don't want it where if they're trying to fix, just don't blame us, but if they're trying to fix a culvert underneath 1A and something goes wrong and that collapses, now you've lost the flow of traffic on 1A until that gets repaired. So that happened in my town. It was like an oopsie, you know, so we'll see how this just came today, so
Just
it's
from erosion under the road, you mean it would collapse?
in my town, yeah. Yeah, and noticed it too late, there was kind of a, so, I think them being proactive, it's hard to run across 1A, people don't like people running across, but, this side, yes, it's a little worn, and, but I don't know from the other side, but everything seems to be flowing okay, so I don't know what their intentions are. I want to hear from them first, how they're thinking of proceeding with any of this, so.
Any other items? I don't know, have we finished everything under action items? Did we do the MBTA?
Yeah.
Double track, we did that?
No,
No.
because they had gotten in touch with me about how they were all done, they wanted their final paperwork, and okay, blah, blah, and nothing, I haven't heard from them since, so.
Oh,
I am so sorry, I hate this thing.
All right, if there isn't anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I move to close.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes. We are now closed.
that for about
Thank
20
you.
minutes, having to.